Hello and welcome to Pinstripe Post. My name is Ryan Sampson. He's the star of the show, Joel Sherman. Today is Wednesday, February 5th. Joel, we are officially 1 week away, less than a week away from Yankees and Mets reporting down for spring training. Baseball is here. Super Bowl is this Sunday, and then it's going to turn the clock real quick to the next part in the sports calendar for spring training. And I'm excited to talk to you here today because this is going to be a fun episode, something we haven't done before, where we ask fans questions about this Yankee squad, the biggest questions surrounding the team heading into spring training. And I'm going to pester you with those questions and hoping to get some answers from you as those fans are as well. But before I get to any of that, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Super Bowl Sunday, and Monday, I'm actually doing something for MLB Network during the morning, and then I'm getting on a plane down to spring training. I'm going to start in Yankee camp, then flip to the Mets, then home a bit to Arizona, then back to Mets and Yankees again once more before, it all goes like this, right? Yeah, spring training is good. Used to, if I'm being frank, it used to be better. There used to be more time with the players, and it was a good base to get to know guys, players, coaches, officials. And now, between the technology and the off limits areas and the limited time that reporters are allowed in to the clubhouse area and with players, it's a little more difficult, but it's still an important building block to what we do to kind of build towards the season.
I got to ask you, Joel, before we get to the actual Yankee stuff, for you, now that you are such a national reporter and you cover the sport as a whole, how does it compare doing this, traveling to multiple different locations for spring training, compared to when you were on the Yankees beat back in the early '90s and doing that?
Yeah, it just hits my head. It's like the difference between being a parent or a teacher, right? If you're a parent, you're worried about one child or your children. So like you're the Yankee beat writer 24/7, all you're thinking about and obsessing on is what's important, how can I present what's important dramatically with some entertainment value. You always want to stay ahead on news, etc. When you're a teacher, you're dealing with 30 teams. Still, obviously, as the New York Post, we're very Yankee and Mets centric, but because I work at the network also, I'm thinking about all the teams. And one of the things I did, I hope this makes sense, Ryan, to you and the people who are kind enough to watch us. I always thought there's that line in politics: what's national is local, because what affects the country affects New York or the town you live in. And the Mets and Yankees are so big that nothing happens in the sport that doesn't have ripple effects that hits at least one, if not both of those teams. So I'm always like when I was a beat guy and I would see player X is unhappy and wants to get out. The first thought I'd have is, does he fit with the Yankees? If he fits with the Yankees, do the Yankees have a good relationship with that team? What kind of players can the Yankees trade for that? Oh, this injury came up and they're doing this preventive care. Or how does it affect the Mets or Yankees? Like I think of everything that happens in that, like literally every player who gets designated for assignment. I'll think, like Ryan Brazier got DFA'd by the Dodgers last week when they had to put Kirby Yates onto their 40-man roster. And he's a pretty good relief pitcher. And the first thought I thought was, well, the Mets have done Stanek. Can they use one more? And made a phone call, so, that kind of thing. So I don't know if that makes sense, but
Yeah.
The Mets and Yankees are going to have over $300 million payrolls. They're playing for everything. So everything that happens in the sport, eventually the waves crash in New York as well.
It's well said. I mean, and let's be real. The talk of all offseason up until, let's call it till December, mid-December, was Juan Soto and what was going to happen between him and the Yankees and Mets. And that was the biggest thing that happened, is that Juan Soto went over to Queens, is now a New York Met, and that's going to be a storyline we're going to talk about, I'm sure, all year long. And it's going to be one of these key questions we'll ask you here from the fans' perspective of how the Yankees absorb that loss. But before I get to that, I got to start with, I'm blessed and happy that we're going to do this for a second season in a row for the Yankees, and we're going to do this Pinstripe Post show, and I'm looking forward to doing all this with you throughout the season. And I want to get this started with the first question, and this is just off the top, and I think it's probably the biggest question a lot of Yankees fans are asking themselves and want to ask you is, Is this Yankees squad that they currently constructed for the 2025 season better than what the World Series 2024 team was?
So let me take myself out of it just a little bit because I if I talk to, let's say, official X from a team, and I'm talking about a player that I think might be, signing or traded or a trend I see, whatever I do, I I always end it with, what do you think of the Mets offseason and what do you think of the Yankees offseason?
Mhm.
Like that's a standard thing as a, hey, before I let you go, what have you thought from a distance? I hate groupthink because it's so infrequently correct. But everyone I talk to likes the Yankees off season. Everyone. Now, is that computer brain where they're thinking, hey, essentially, if you like the Yankee off season, you like the idea that of 4 quarters instead of a dollar, right? Juan Soto is a dollar, and you know what he gets. But if you got him, the Yankees were going to be able, within the context of what Hal Steinbrenner was going to allow payroll wise, to do very little else that would have been there. Like, there's no Max Fried. There's probably only Cody Bellinger or Goldschmidt, right? Like that kind of thing. I'm not sure they could do Devin Williams. That's an $8 million,
Yeah.
like, well, I guess some of it is contoured off, right? Cortez
Right,
went
the
the other way.
Cortez.
So maybe that could have been done as I'm thinking out loud here. But it would have been more limited. And I think people who are nice enough to watch us last year, one of the themes I harped on all season was the Yankees weren't good at baseball. They were good at, they were good at run prevention where non-fielding was involved because their pitching does a good job and their pitching profiling and program do a good job. And they were good at hitting home runs. That's what they did. If you like what they did this offseason, they feel like a more complete team minus the superstar. So the question is, in basketball, as you know, I have an affinity for
Mm.
basketball, and I'm watching my trade deadline ticker here. I see Chris Middleton was just traded.
Yes.
Uh, is uh, In basketball, you need the two stars, and the two stars can carry you very, very far, or three stars can carry you very far. Though, of course, Phoenix is maybe whatever, showing maybe not that far in this new NBA where there's so much talent. But in baseball, the Yankees were very much an NBA team last year. They were Judge and Soto centric. And the question became, can you keep moving forward with that model, or are you better off where you need depth of talent to do it this way? If there was a limit on payroll, and there's clearly a limit on payroll at about, let's say, 305 or wherever they are, right about that first luxury tax, final luxury tax level, which is 301 million this year. The sport, the executives from other teams, I have not hit an executive, and I'm talking about dozens between like all winter. Like I talk to people all the time. I've yet to hit the agent, the executive who went, this Yankee offseason isn't that impressive. Like, so if they did the wrong thing, then everyone is going to be wrong. Uh, and by the way, I would say at this point, so are the bookmakers, right? Like if you look at anything that has come out early on over under projections, all of them have the Yankees winning the AL East again. So it's different. We know the Soto model works. They got to the World Series, but I have some questions about how they got to the World Series. You might not get the easy AL Central lane again. Like I am convinced that last year's team wasn't as good as the 22 team that didn't get to the World Series, the 19 team that didn't get to the World Series, the 17 team that didn't get to the World Series. They got a favorable draw and they got through, and they needed to get better. I think 1 through 26, 1 through 35, whatever number we want to give, I think the Yankees are better with some more stuff still to do, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
No, it does. And it's interesting you say that every executive, every agent you talk to has that same opinion, because I think a lot of Yankees fans share that same thing. But there's still going to be that shock and awe factor, I think, Joel, even for when you guys on the beat or covering baseball are going to be at Yankees camp and it's like, 22 is not there anymore. And now I'm interested to see how this all works and gels together. And like you said, last year, they were able to work it and get to the World Series. If you want to blame the AL Central, totally understand. but the stars did perform in Juan Soto, some of the biggest moments he had for the Yankees to bring them into the World Series at that point. But every
Soto's no guess. Like he's going to play at 20. He's right in his prime. He's arguably the toughest at bat in the sport. So what you're getting there. To me, if I were a Yankee fan, what I would be thinking is Juan Soto rejected us for the Mets. Now, you could play the money game. The Yankees offered $760 million over 16 years. And I guess if you could say, well, whoever offers the most, I'm going. The Mets offered more, 765 over 15, so it's more per year, it's more in total, etc. But he was leaving the Yankees have not had a bad season for over 30 years, right? Like to go to a team that is like finished first 6 times in their history, has never made the playoffs 3 years in a row. There was something either lacking in the Yankees, in his view, or so enticing in the Mets whole group that it feels like it wasn't just about money at the end. Like he doesn't want to say it out loud because, I mean, he's going to get booed at Yankee Stadium, I'm sure. But it would be even more miserable if he came out and just said, well, the next 10 years, I actually think the Mets are better positioned. Or I kind of didn't like the Yankees aura day to day or whatever it was. If I was a Yankee fan, that's what I'd be looking at and saying, for the first time in kind of the history of the two teams being together, but certainly over the last 30 years, or maybe even the last 50 years, the Steinbrenner era, since the early 1970s, a player of stature said, I'd rather play there than here. And that is really interesting to me. And it questions the dynamic of where we are in New York baseball in 2025 and moving forward. It is the launch point because he is such a great player, such a great hitter in his prime to make that decision. It is, to me, the overriding thing in New York baseball this year and for the next few years. Did he make the right gamble on, because the money was going to be there. Like you could say, well, how can he fail? It's the money's there, but 700, like what was he going to buy? A 17th house with 765 that he couldn't buy with 760? It feels beyond finances to me, Ryan. And therefore, we are seeing a dynamic we have maybe never seen and certainly haven't seen in a long, long time where it's like them instead of them.
It's a good point, Joel. And I'm just fascinated to see again how this plays out for this season. Because I think this is a better team, and I think that's where we started off this show. Is this Yankee squad a better squad than the 2024 team? By all intents and purposes, what Cashman has done this offseason, it looks like he's assembled a better squad. But there's still other questions lingering about this team, and I want to start off with one of these fan questions here. This is from Chris Matarazzo from Twitter, and he wants to ask you about this Yankees infielder situation because we've heard rumors. Could the Yankees address third base? How is the salary, not salary cap, but how is the roster and payroll work into this? But he listed 3 names here, Joel, and he wants to know if the Yankees acquire an infielder by opening day. And this is a big
Bregman, Arenado, and who else?
No, Luis Arias,
right,
Willie Castro, and Kiki Hernandez. Could any of those infielders make sense for the Yankees before opening day?
So first of all, I want to appreciate that everyone who took time to ask a question, and starting with Chris. And so I think Chris picked interesting names because I think they fall into a more realistic bucket of where the Yankees are. So as we're speaking, yesterday the Yankees reached agreement with Tim Hill. I think, and again, the Yankees don't announce this, and even privately, they don't tell reporters, at least this reporter, this, because they don't want to kind of show their hand to the whole industry. But my suspicion is the lefty reliever, once he dropped to the price, whatever the price was, and it turned out to be about $2.5 million for this year, the Yankees were willing to spend a little more money in the House Steinbrenner world. I think everything from now on that has any significance is tied to Marcus Stroman. So I think that, and that could take a while. My suspicion is we're going to get Marcus Stroman question.
Yeah, so I mean, I could tie this next question in if you want.
Go bring it in because I do think they're tied.
Yeah, this is from Kamoosh73 on Twitter. He says, "Does Marcus Stroman get traded before the season begins? And if not, what is his role on this team to start the season?"
So let's do second first, because I
Yeah,
think second gets us into Chris's question.
yeah,
So to me, there are two pertinent deadlines for the Yankees with Marcus Stroman that aren't real deadlines. One is the end of this weekend, and the other is the end of spring training. Okay, what is the end of this weekend? The Yankees going to show up in spring training, and Aaron Boone and the entire infrastructure of the Yankees is going to bullshit us at the highest levels about what Marcus Stroman's role is with the team if he shows up, which is they're going to try to pay respect to a veteran starter who has had a lot of accomplishments and say, oh, we don't have a pecking order. Lots happen in spring training. Marcus is a valuable guy. Boone will do as we wouldn't have made the playoffs last year without blah, 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 blah. You got the script. But the reality is it's uncomfortable. He's without an injury. And look, the blessing might be hold on to the guy. The likelihood is you'll have injuries. But without an injury, he's the sixth starter in a five-man rotation. The Yankees, there was a few teams out there who are going to go to a six-man rotation this year on a somewhat regular, if not regular basis. The Dodgers, for example. But the Yankees aren't. And so he's number six on this, unless they're ready to put Luis Gil in the minor leagues. And I don't remember, he's the only one with an option in the rotation.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Luis Gil in the bullpen, if
No,
anything.
well, but I mean, it doesn't make any sense to put Gil in the bullpen because you'll want to kind of create real bullpen slots.
Yeah.
And what would Gil do? He might sit around for a week or two. You don't want to get him out of the routine of being stretched out. You would argue if there was a playoff series starting opening day that he might be the third starter.
Yeah.
For that. So, the only thing that hurts Gil is he has an option. So, you've got to think about, if they keep Strowman and are trying to have the best 13 guys while keeping all their starters stretched out, that would be the way. So it's going to be, if they don't solve this by the end of the weekend, Monday's report date, Tuesday is kind of like Boone does his state of the state. Wednesday is a practice. Clubhouse is open to reporters before and after. Strowman's presence is going to be a story. And how Stroman handles that, from diplomatically to whatever the alternative of diplomatic is whatever. But we can't deny that there'll be uncomfortable tension there with that reality. So can they get something done in the short term? I think it would be very, very difficult because there's still so many starting pitchers available in the free agent market. Think about guys like Kyle Gibson, Nick Pivetta, Lance Lynn. I mean, just go look at your list. There's still guys where teams will say, well, I could trade for Marcus Stroman or I could just buy this guy. I'm not sure that the difference is that great. Why would I do that? That's part of it. And the other thing is the Yankees probably have a number in mind. Let's play the game. Can they get somebody to eat half of the 18 million? Okay, which is 9. So they have till the end of this weekend, maybe the very beginning of next week. Reporters aren't in until Wednesday, really, to solve that issue without that discomfort. Then the next one is the beginning of the season for the Luis Gil situation, which is they're already would like to carry J.D. Brubaker on the roster. He doesn't, I don't want to insult fans, but very quickly, just to understand, players generally get 3 minor league options once you're on the 40-man roster. They're precious, right? Like, for example, Yoendris Gomez was once a pretty decent prospect for the Yankees. He's now out of options. So if there's not a bunch of injuries where he ends up a reliever in the bullpen or some whatever, the Yankees have to either pass him through waivers at the end of spring to get him to the minor leagues, and he'll probably be grabbed by a bad team. The Marlins, the Rockies,
Right.
the White Sox, somebody who will say, hey, it wasn't too long ago that he was good, well thought of. Let's see what we can do with him. He's better than the bottom of our roster. So like he's a trade candidate. So a guy like Brubaker, who they rehabbed through, was a Tommy John surgery, some kind of arm surgery. He came back and pitched in the minors late last season. He's out of options. And I think they kind of think, is this a Luke Weaver situation where we have a little something here, like is either a starter or a reliever, and we'd like to see it through. And I kind of think of him as the 13th pitcher,
Okay.
like the guy that like. And this all depends on, hey, everybody's healthy, right? If everyone's healthy, I think he's pitcher 13 and that long reliever, right? And then you work backwards from it. Like he's going to make the team. They've put a lot, if he looks good in spring, because they put a lot into seeing if the Yankees have done well in this area, including with Luke Weaver, where there's like some profile that they like, pitch shape, pitch stuff, things they think they could clean up on other stuff they like, and they like Brubaker. So like it's hard to keep Brubaker and Strowman. You're going to have two long relievers. Now you could say, well, early in the season, starters are going short. Well, these aren't regular starters. I would say by opening day, they're going to expect Cole, Fried, Rodon, etc., to be doing 5-6 innings. Like it's not like there's going to be a ton of long relief early in the season. So I think that therefore that second deadline is the opening day. And probably if I were guessing, hunch from experience, the Yankees probably are saying Strowman will not be on the team on opening day. And at that point, we'll take whatever the best deal is that eats the most money. Right? Like, so like maybe there's teams out there that are saying, we know the Yankees are desperate. If you're willing to eat $13 million, we'll get them down to a $5 million pitcher. We'll take Marcus Stroman. We'll take that shot. Remember, the other problem with trading him is he has a
Vesting option in the next
vesting
season.
option at 140 innings. Now, I think that's easily navigated around.
Right.
Like, 6 starters, skip a start,
I guess my question, Joel, is about Strowman, and
And by the
I
way,
hear you.
just again, between the beginning of spring and the beginning of the season, maybe Clark Schmidt pulls a muscle, and now he's in the rotation. So like maybe they keep him around just as a team trying to win a championship to have that depth. But I think, Ryan, I didn't mean to cut you off, but this is where I think it then flips into the other thing.
Yeah.
I think the Yankees would like to use, say they could save $9 million, right? Well, $9 million allows them, if there was a trade for Willie Castro, who I think is making $6 million this year, to fit Willie Castro in, right? Because they would then use that like the money saved off of Strowman to do that kind of trade. And Castro, if I don't know if the fan knows or not, I kind of did a fake trade a few weeks ago in my Tuesday morning Post Plus column, which is my online column. Oftentimes every week I'll do a fake trade. And my fake trade was Strowman, Will Warren, and perhaps something else to the Twins for Willie Castro and Christian Vasquez. Because I think the Yankees need a backup catcher also. And that was almost a complete salary. It was Vasquez was 10 million, Castro was like 6.1 or something, and Strowman is 18. So the Yankees save 2 million. Do they flip $1 million to make it completely even? Whatever. And I would say, well, they solve kind of like a depth infield guy plus backup catcher, which I seem to have a lot of concern for the Yankees about, and the Yankees seem to have a lot less concern than me. But so Araz, Castro, who's the third guy?
Kiki Hernandez.
So I'll do Kiki Hernandez, then I'll do Araz. I think the Yankees would love to have Kiki Hernandez. It's a perfect player for them. They tried to sign him last spring training, and for the exact same reason I think they didn't sign him last spring training, they won't sign him this year, which is he'd prefer to be a Dodger. And you could say the Dodgers are overloaded. The Dodgers love Kiki Hernandez, and Kiki Hernandez loves the Dodgers. Again, without knowing it, do the Dodgers and Kiki Hernandez have a little bit of a wait till spring training opens? Because one key, again, not to insult fans if they don't know the rules, you can't put a player on the 60-man IL until spring training opens. And once you put a player on the 60-day, not the 10 or 15, but on the 60-day, it opens up the 40-man roster spot. You don't count as a 40-man. So the Dodgers, as we know, have so much talent. They're burgeoning. They probably have about 4 or 5 pitchers who've had Tommy John surgery. So they all are going to open up 40-man roster spots when they open. And if in the first week of spring training, we suddenly saw Kiki Hernandez sign like a 1-year, $6 million deal with the Dodgers, something like that, I would not be shocked. I don't know that, but that was the dynamic last year. And I haven't said, and again, in the talking to everybody thing, everybody's just like, stop talking about Kiki Hernandez. He's going to go back to the Dodgers. Right. So, like, do they know? No. What they know is the love affair between the two teams. On Araz cost a lot of money.
Yes.
He's a $14 or $15 million player this year. And more important is the Yankees have, after kind of like denying it for a season and then kind of like at the beginning of the off season, they've now kind of like let it out of the bag. We were a shitty defensive team last year, and we're trying to be better. And Araz's skill is as a hitter and a slap hitter who doesn't hit the ball hard. So the Yankees, whether you like this or not, are a exit velocity team that wants to believe a guy could get a point and a run right away, right, with his bat. And Araz is just not a good defender, especially if you're going to put him back at second base. It's not, and he's not going to play first base with Goldschmidt there. So second base isn't going to be that great if you put Araz there. Is Chisholm going to be a good third baseman? I know what the analytics said, that he was a good third baseman last year. You watch all the games, Ryan. Like, he was a spectacular third baseman. But to me, if you blow the obvious, you're not a good third base.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and I don't know. I want to see a season of it. Maybe he does the same thing at second. He does the spectacular, but not the routine at a high enough level. So I think Araz, unless it's Strowman for Araz, but even then, I just think Araz doesn't fit. Then it would be just like, well, if you told me we have to have Araz or we have to have Sherman, we'll take Araz. Because it just whatever. It fits better on the roster. But I don't think Araz fits who the Yankees want to be in 2025. And he certainly doesn't even fit pre that because of how he squares up the ball. It isn't their mindset. You and I could say they could use some batting average.
And a leadoff guy.
Yes. But I think they'd say he's not a leadoff guy because I know his on-base percentage gets up because of his batting average. I think they also like the idea of a little pop leading off a game. Somebody, will Judge go back to second or will he stay third? If he's second and that guy's getting pitched to, they'd like that guy. Oh, you're going to get some fastballs. You better hit some home runs. So anyway, both questions are really good questions. And I think they are tied together now. Until the Yankees show us, no, we have another 3 to 5 disposable dollars even without moving Strowman. I'm going to believe the lefty reliever was the last luxury, quote, item to fill a need without being able to trade Strowman.
Well, you answered now. Zachary Goldstar 4. He's from Twitter. He asked, do the Yankees, will they add 2 pieces to make their team complete? And this is right before the Tim Hill signing. So he was asking if there was going to be another move to come. And it seems like what you're saying is the Strowman part is going to be intertwined with that infielder part no matter what for this Yankee squad, unless, like you said, they decide to spend that extra dollar that comes loose.
Yeah, I believe that. And look, this will make Yankee fans angry. I know it does. But they do owe $30 million to DJ LeMahieu over the next 2 years.
Yeah.
Right? And I would put it at no better than a 10, 15% chance that he's still a average to better player who makes it worthwhile for them to do it. But they probably want to go to spring training. They've clearly been keeping tabs on him some way during the off season. And maybe those tabs, again, as good a reporter as you'd like to believe I am or anyone else, the Yankees don't hand out like leaflets with, we saw DJ LeMahieu yesterday and he looks like crap, right? Like we saw him yesterday, he looks great. Any of that stuff. They're never going to tell you he looks bad. They're always going to tell you he looks good. And so the rubber hits the road and his feet literally hit the ground.
Yeah.
Coming up here. And I think as an injured player, if he wants, he could be in spring training to open the season. So, open spring training. Like he could come with pitchers and catchers. Like I think if you document that he was a injured player to end the season. So we'll probably see him relatively early on. I think the Yankees will get a read on can he do it? I don't put it at zero. Like I think even with the bad feet the last few years, he remained an above average third baseman. Like I would rather have him play third base than Chisholm. Like, he's a good third baseman. And so I think for $15 million, they'd like to no. And the one thing about LeMahieu is they know this offseason he's working on showing up with a shot. It could just be that he's a guy who wore out the warranty on his body. He is a kind of play hard, big bodied second baseman for a
Yeah.
long time. And it could just be his legs are shot. There's no base there and he's done. And if you told me, hey, it's March 19th and Jason Zillo, the Yankee media relations director, or one of their guys goes, hey, Cashman's going to talk to everybody in the dugout in 10 minutes. And they announce they're DFAing LeMahieu. He's the new Aaron Hicks. They're like eating the last few years of a contract. By the way, they're still paying Aaron Hicks this year, like last year of his contract. If that happened, I think that's more likely than he's a good player. But I think the Yankees want to run the race. They owe the money. And I know it's always easy to spend somebody else's money. But since they have this money invested and they have a little bit of a backup plan where they probably feel like, you know what, if we have to play Oswaldo Cabrera at third base and hit him ninth, that is survivable for a period of time until we come up with something better by July 31st. It won't knock us out of the race. I bet you they feel that way. Yankee fans don't feel that way because, look, this is the...
Well, I think so, Joel. I'm going to interrupt you here. So Russell from Connecticut on Twitter asks, "Do you think Oswaldo Cabrera will get a legit shot to man the hot corner, or will it be DJ LeMahieu's spot to lose to start spring training?"
I mean, I think they'll open spring training with both guys in an open mind, wanting to do as well as they can. The Yankees aren't playing for anything else but 2025, right? Like, they have to win. And if Cabrera shows up and suddenly it's all clicking and whatever, I think Cabrera has probably shown us enough to suggest that his great value, and it does have value, is as a depth piece that could move around the diamond. And you know, off of his rookie season, I thought he was going to fall someplace between Marwin Gonzalez and Ben Zobrist. Switch hitter, play all over, high baseball IQ for a kid, right? Like, I mean, he showed it right away. Adaptability, understood how to play, ran the bases well. I like the player. I thought that there was maybe a little more upside than I've seen now the last few years. Maybe there's a tick more. And it comes like, look, the patron saint of don't give up hope is third base with the Yankees, right? The Yankees are the last team to repeat as champions when they three-peated in 98 to 2000. One of the reasons was they had Scott Brosius at third base. And I do say to Yankee fans who don't know the history, go look at what Scott Brosius's numbers were the year before the Yankees got him for a damaged piece in Kenny Rogers, right? Like, this is the kind of trade you're hoping they make with Strowman if you're a Yankee fan. Can they trade Strowman for Brosius, like, kind of player who is down and out and then kind of like, hey, just hit ninth and play third base well. And that's what Brosius did. He almost freaking won the MVP. He did win the MVP of the World Series that first year. And so was it the first year in 98? Yeah, against San Diego, right? He won the MVP. So, you know, there's always to me, there's very little 0% chance of something. Like when people say LeMahieu's done, and I'm like, it's not, he's probably done. But if you were the owner and your 30 million was invested in it, what would you do if it wasn't zero? And by the way, I'm saying 10, 12%. That means 88 to 90%, this is not going to work. I kind of feel it's probably done. But I think they'll take a look at it. I think they'll take a look at Cabrera, and they know that this is probably something that they may have to solve during the season. And look, I'll say this out loud. I don't have a job without fans, right? But there is a fanaticism. It's where the word comes from the fans, which is, trust me, if tomorrow they traded for Arenado, right? And Christian Vasquez, like they added whatever to the payroll, and they had a legit backup catcher, both their baseman. Fans would go, "Where's the second lefty in the bullpen?" Like, there is no, you know what I mean? It's like,
yes,
I really see it from the other side with the Mets. Now, I actually have friends in my life, friends in my life who are Met fans who are saying, "Oh, Cohen's cheap," and I'm like, "Cohen's cheap? What the fuck are you talking about?" Like, oh, why won't he do what the Dodgers do? And I'm like, he did that 2 years ago. He had, he had a $375 million payroll 2 years ago. By the way, it would have been over $400 million if they didn't make all the trades in July and Carlos Correa didn't fail his physical.
Yeah.
You know what that would have been? 400 plus about another 130 in tax. He would have been at 530 million. Like, he just signed Juan Soto. By the way, it's the smorgasbord. It's the largest contract ever. It's the largest per year ever. It's the longest ever. It has the largest signing bonus ever. The Mets, you guys used to be on like freaking the Wilpons, right? And I understand it's about Alonso, but you could say the Mets are cheaping out on Alonso, and I'm like, right, that would make a lot more sense if Alonso was signed someplace else and for a lot more money than the Mets are saying he's worth. But you're suggesting the Mets should just like go like give charity to somebody.
Right.
And I just feel like whatever the Yankees do, the fans will be on top. Like, as I told my friend, my best friend, like Met fan, and he said, "Oh, they got to re-sign Alonso." And I said, the second they do, you'll go, "Why aren't they trading for Dylan Cease?"
Yep.
And then they'll get Dylan Cease, and you'll be like, "Really? This is the bullpen?" And I get it. Thank goodness you all exist, so I could have a freaking job. I got it. But the idea that you're going to have a perfect team on the first day of spring training or the first day of the season, like there's a continuum here.
Right.
Yankees literally made a trade leaving spring training last year where they added John Birdie. I would not be surprised if they made, because again, Gomez is out of options. Peraza is out of options. And if the Yankees are like, do we really want to see if we could keep him on the major league roster all year as our backup infielder, or should we have some more flexibility? You know what I mean? Is like that kind of thing. Should we trade? And so maybe it ends up being Strowman, Peraza, and Gomez. And while I know Peraza and Gomez are down angle prospects, for a team that is down on its luck, saying, well, those are talented guys, plus we could get 130 innings out of Marcus Stroman to get through the season, maybe trade him in July, we'll do that. Like, I don't think the team that shows up in Tampa next week is the New York Yankees of 2025.
Of course not.
And my suspicion is third base is tied to Stroman and doesn't get answered right away.
Yeah, I mean, there's still an intriguing prospect, I think, for Cabrera. And you mentioned Peraza, too. I'm wondering about him. Like, this is a guy who was once a hyped prospect. Like, he was one of the top of the organization prospects. We've seen a little bit of pop from him. We've seen he could play well defensively. I wonder if you could convince him to see if he could take reps at third base. I'm just
I'm
spitballing
sure
here.
he will. He becomes a utility guy on this team, right? Like if he's going to, so he right now, I would say he's going to make the roster. Optionality, the teams don't take their best 26 players north. I know they say it, oh, we'll take the best team north. That's bullshit. They are always protecting depth for the long season, right? And so, yes, this player is better than this player, but if I put this player on the roster, I have to take this player off of my organization, not put him in the minors. He's out of options. And over the long go. I always encourage fans. I was looking at this morning. The Dodgers won the World Series. They used 40 pitchers last year. 40. The Mets used, I think, 32. You're going to use a lot of people. And so keeping depth in your organization, where I see fans, like if you're sending that guy down, you're not even trying. Really? Like, are you just playing stupid, or are you stupid? Like, you're playing the game of what gives me the best team for the long run. Like we're just not playing April 1st and the season fucking ends that day, right? You got to play the whole year.
Yes.
And so it's gymnastics.
Absolutely.
And so someone like Peraza will either make the team to me or be traded, or make the team and be traded at some point during the season. Because, again, I assume because of his once high status as a prospect, some other organization will say, well, let's take him. And I mean, like, who's playing shortstop on the White Sox? Like, okay, well, who's playing second base on the Marlins? Let's take him, throw him out there, do 200 straight major league at bats, see what it looks like, and see if you have a player. So he's a guy who is a piece to watch this spring training, because he either makes the team, or I think he gets he's in a trade.
Yeah, it's some I'm going to be paying attention to for him and seeing where how it works out for him in spring. I got another question from Matt Farella from Instagram. Another part of the infield here. Let's talk about first base here, Joel. By all intents and purposes, the Yankees were one of the worst ranked teams offensively at first base last year. They didn't get much from Rizzo, obviously. They moved on from him, and they bring in an older player, a veteran, savvy guy, wins Gold Gloves, and Paul Goldschmidt. What is the offensive strategy here for the Yankees? What are they expecting truly from a Paul Goldschmidt? And can his second half carry over into the Yankees lineup this year?
So I'm always would be leery of small sample size, right? You know who was a great hitter in the second half of 2023? DJ LeMahieu.
Hmm.
DJ LeMahieu looked like DJ LeMahieu as recently as the second half of 2023, and then kind of collapsed again physically and in every way last year. So the second half of Goldschmidt is optimistic, but somebody just a little off the beaten path, very influential to me. Somebody who I think is very smart in baseball said, if you're good enough to play Major League Baseball, you're good enough to have 2 great months. Like you're that talented. And it's always like my Mike Tauchman thing, right? Like at the end of the 2019 season, you would have thought the Yankees like stole a maybe borderline all-star player if you watched those like 8 weeks where Tauchman was playing every day. And then it's like, oh, if you're in the major leagues, you're probably good enough to have a month or two where you could really fool people. And that's why the guys who are good week after week, month after month, year after year are the special players who move the needle and get paid, etc. Um, Having said that, you got to live in the world you could live in. And the question became, if not Goldschmidt, who? And the idea is always to improve. And as bad as Goldschmidt might have been compared to his history last year, I will tell you 2 things. He was a world better than Anthony Rizzo. And if you use this just as an example, go to Fangraphs WAR for first baseman. I believe this is something I've looked at, so I might be off. It might be 12th or 13th or whatever, but they're back to back. 11th in the major leagues in Fangraphs WAR for first baseman is Pete Alonso. 12th is Paul Goldschmidt. I think that's what it was. I know they're back to back. So it's like there's all these fans who are like Met fans, like you got to re-sign him. And I'm like, right. But the teams are looking at the overall player and making unemotional decisions. And Pete Alonso at 29 just had a year that in overall value was a lot like Paul Goldschmidt's worst season of his life. So the question is, like, for $12 million, for a player is serious, works hard, has great pedigree, this falls into that category of when I talk to executives and I ask them about the offseason, they're like, look, there's a chance that Paul Goldschmidt is cooked. But if you were asking me to bet on somebody who's in their mid to late 30s who can have a bounce back season, I'd bet on Goldschmidt. And again, that's not me. That's the people who are being paid to be experts on this. There was a general, that's a good gamble for it. Because I think even the downside for Goldschmidt is probably one more season that looks like last year, where he hits 20-ish homers, he has a low 700 OPS, and he could field solid base runner, solid defender, great in the clubhouse for like sturdiness. All right, that's probably major league average first baseman. The Yankees were well below that last year. So where do they? It would be interesting if you said to the Yankees right now, we could give you whatever major league average is at first base attached to someone who could defend, run the bases, and be good in the clubhouse. Or you could have whatever Paul Goldschmidt gives you this year. Which would you take? They might actually be give us the certainty of average, because we're not asking Paul Goldschmidt to be MVP Paul Goldschmidt.
No.
We're asking him to be a good baseball player.
Right.
And I think there's a decent chance that Paul Goldschmidt is a good to tick above good major league player this year who has attributes beyond the box score.
So Matt also asks off of that question with Goldschmidt, he wants to know what should the offensive strategy be for this Yankees lineup, and do they have enough balance considering they've replaced almost half this lineup in the offseason now?
Yeah, it's another. I'm glad we did this. People are asking the right questions to me and good questions, Ryan. And so, what I would say, and this is an overlay on their year, the Yankees, for the Yankees to uh, step positively past Juan Soto. Yeah, Cody Bellinger's got to be good. Goldschmidt's got to be good. Judge has got to stay healthy. But right there, if you were make a case, who's Anthony Volpe, who's Austin Wells, who's Jason Dominguez? They have three guys on a team where we know they're playing the money game with the payroll. They have three guys who are um, making close to the minimum salary in the league, less than $1 million probably, or right around there. So who are going to hit in three prominent places in the line. Hell, if they end up hitting seventh, eighth, and ninth, they're going to be in the lineup every day.
Mm-hmm.
And we're talking about a switch hitting outfielder, a lefty hitting catcher, and an athletic shortstop. Forgive me for not maybe remembering exactly what I said. I said, let's make a number that you're comfortable. That those three got people. What's the baseline of if we're comfortable with this? It'd be great if it was above it. Is it like 60 combined homers, 50 combined stolen bases, and a 725 OPS, and good defense all around? Volpe at shortstop, Wells at catcher, and Dominguez in the outfield. Does that do it? I think it does. I think that as a baseline does it. That's not asking for astronomical Martian level stuff. But we have real questions about who all three of those guys profile as offensively. Again, Wells. Did Wells have a Tachman 8 weeks where he rose to cleanup? Or was he revealed late in the season? If you have a good high fastball, you're going to be able to get Austin Wells. Or was he just tired? It's again why I think they really need a real backup catcher. They overplayed Wells late last year. I understand why they did it. They were in a fight to try to win the division, etc. But they overplayed him, and he looked exhausted by the end. For a catcher, he's not a big physical guy. But which of those two guys is Wells, or is it someplace in the middle? Where did the Yankees sign up for the middle? A guy with a high 700 OPS is the middle who can hit home runs and really catch. But Wells is about as important a guy as they have on the team in a lot of ways.
Yes.
Picks a foul ball off his thumb, breaks his thumb, and you're catching Alex Jackson and JC Esquera. What the hell's that? They need, again, this is one of those ones where you see the storm outside of town and you say to the people who live in the town, you should do something about that, maybe get out of town. And by the time the storm hits, you're screwed. I think the Yankees are a little more comfortable with their lack of a veteran catcher who they feel can play for a month if they needed it than they should be.
Yeah. Well, so you touched on the Wells, Volpe, and Dominguez part, but the other parts of the lineup, like you mentioned, are Goldschmidt and Bellinger. What can those two guys? I know we talked about Goldschmidt. What can Bellinger help provide in this lineup as well?
So, to me, I know I'm going to be wrong about this. I thought the Bellinger move was the best move of the offseason. So I don't think Cody Bellinger is 2018 NL MVP Cody Bellinger anymore. But I also don't think he's the guy who had those two horrible seasons and the Dodgers, a really elite organization, non-tendered him. He was, again, a top 10 MVP guy 2 years ago, 2023. And last year, he was a good player. So to me, that's a worthwhile trade for the Yankees because I would say the downside of Bellinger is like a 2.5 WAR player who gives you defensive versatility, hits lefty, athleticism, good base runner, kind of the stuff they want. That's like baseline to me. I don't think he's returning to the guy who got like a non-tender. I think the baseline is what we saw last year. He's in his late 20s. That should be the baseline. With the possibility, not impossible, that he's a 4 to 5 WAR player. And he's helping you out in the outfield. He's helping you out at first base when Goldschmidt needs a little time off. He's helping you out on the bases. If you know the profile of how Bellinger hits, He's a line drive hitter. Go look at his numbers between Wrigley Field and the road last year. He was so much better on the road. Wrigley Field kind of killed the offense last year. The batted ball profile should play at Yankee Stadium at a much higher level. I really, I think, as you know, Ryan, we were doing it on this show. I was doing it on the podcast. I was writing it in the post that they should go get him because it just felt like, and it felt like a strange thing that if Cody Bellinger were on the free agent market with a 2-year, $52 million contract, like I would argue the Mets should have traded for him and put him at first base. That like if you knew in December, hey, Alonso's asking for stuff, we're never going to get there.
Right.
We're never going to get there. And we were sitting here today, and Cody Bellinger was the first baseman of the Mets with the ability, if they had an injury or Jose Siri, it's terrible in New York, to go play center field. I think that actually puts the Mets over the top on the Braves and the Phillies. I think that's how good a move it could have been. And I don't understand why teams didn't go after him, especially I asked so many people who were in the NL Central the last couple of years, what am I missing? People I respected, and they're like, you're not missing anything. He's a good baseball player.
Is it the exit velo stuff? Because they're like,
yes,
yeah,
there's some underlying stuff, but even the underlying stuff, their point was, but he's making it work.
Right.
It's the Luis Ariz thing.
Yeah.
He doesn't hit the ball hard. Yeah, but he's won 3 batting titles in a row. Like at some point you have to say, he's doing something where his batted ball profile defies your standard of what the batted profile is.
Yes.
Like there are outliers. I understand about having big subsets of data, but sometimes people worm their way into the data that don't fit. And I think Bellinger, again, I want to be careful here. I do not think he's NL MVP Bellinger, but I think he's a good baseball player. He's played in 2 big markets. He's played well in the postseason. Like he had a tremendous home run for the Dodgers. And I know the numbers, he's played badly also, but he's played huge games, right? I just feel like so again, this is like where everyone's saying one thing, it almost always turns out the other way. It's like, as for the guy I feel best, if you told me, rank them, Goldschmidt, Fried, Fernando Cruz, Devin Williams, Bellinger, all the stuff they did this offseason, I would actually put Bellinger 1 for the kind of cost of what it cost you in the trade, Cody Petit, and just taking on the money. And where he is in his career, late 20s, and the fact he's played in big markets, and the fact that I think his floor, his absolute, like, if he has last year again, that's very helpful to the Yankees. Last year was so much better than what Alex Verdugo did.
Amen.
Right? And let's not forget, because it ties into the last question also. And I know that this time the marketplace gets tough. Alex Verdugo and Anthony Rizzo, who played a lot for the Yankees,
don't have a job.
They're both unemployed right now.
Yeah.
So the sport is telling us something about who they think those guys are. There was that binge of first base signings. Now, look, some of this could be like somebody early in the offseason said to me, I think the Pirates are really on Rizzo. Now, it could be that was true, and Rizzo was like, I don't want to play for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Like, I don't know that, but so maybe he's had opportunities out there, and they're not opportunities that are attractive until he's like this is, I was joking with an executive yesterday. Actually, I'm wrong. I was joking with a scout yesterday. I was asking something about the Tim Hill thing to somebody about out there who knew the lefty relief market. And I said, because I noticed Danny Colombe signed, Hill signed, Tim Meza signed with the Pirates. And I said, I always call this the plumber time of the year. They all decide, well, I guess I'm not going into plumbing supplies. I have to play Major League Baseball again. So what's the best deal on the thing so I could get to spring training on time? So it felt like plumbing time. So maybe we're getting to plumbing supply time for Verdugo, Rizzo, and a few other people where they'll look around and say, okay, position players are reporting kind of not this weekend, but like a weekend from now, generally around the sport. That's my dedeline. I don't want to miss time because we saw what missing time meant to guys.
Hell yeah.
Like Jordan Montgomery most specifically. But, I think guys want to get in, and then that becomes the marginal difference between, well, I'm really worth this. This is all I'm getting. I'm sure Jack Flaherty thought he was worth a hell of a lot more money than he signed for. But at some point, you're like, okay, I guess I'm not going to, become a tattoo artist. I'm going to play Major League Baseball. So I got to sign a contract someplace.
All right, so now I got to finish up with my final part here. This is from our guy Tommy Hogan. He's got some questions here for you, Joel, and I want to see if you can rip these off quickly. Is the Yankees backup catcher on the roster currently?
I actually think, I think no. They think yes. I think they think Alex Jackson does do the thing that they value the most in a catcher, which is frame well. And steal strikes over 120 pitches, the course of a night and week to week, and they'll be like, "We're going to be a pretty good offensive team. Hit them ninth." To He's been through a lot of teams because ultimately you can't hit 140 and strike out 35% of the time. I don't care if you steal every strike there is, and it hasn't been good enough. And I get it; they really like some other guys who aren't with no major league experience, but to me, like JC Esquer is the name that comes up, which is he's 29. He's never played a game in the major leagues. Perhaps he is a late blossoming guy. I still would make sure that someplace at AAA, I have some Austin Wynn to be named later, or I'm just making up a name. Somebody who Wells pulls a groin muscle in spring training, and I have to literally have somebody catch in tandem with Alex Jackson. I'm going to go with Alex Jackson and JC Esquera. I am in so many ways the child of Buck Showalter about how I think about things. And the Buck Showalter, all he ever did, whether it was game strategy or roster strategy, he said, I'm always playing the what if game. What if that guy gets hurt? What am I doing? And I think the Yankees have to be careful here. In the what if game, if Wells gets hurt, now keep this in mind also. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to use the line again. I don't want to insult the fans who know this, but every scout is going to be given a piece of paper when they go out this spring that has targets and stuff. And on the target list is the names of everyone who's out of options. Because, like I'm saying, the Yankees are going to have to make Peraza decisions and JT Brubaker decisions and Yandros Gomez. That's a 30 team. There's guys out of options all over the place. And there's probably a handful of veteran catchers who are on that list. Yankees traded for Jose Trevino, right? Just before the season a few years ago. There's probably a Jose Trevino-like player or two on that list. And it wouldn't surprise me if the Yankees are trading Peraza for that player before the end. So I don't think the backup catcher is on the team right now.
Do you agree with Aaron Boone saying Dominguez will play left field and Bellinger in center field?
I think the answer to that question is what do you think is actually it's the simplest question. What do you think works best?
Right.
And the answer is that the right answer? I don't know. But the most important thing, Jason, I am not a social media guy in a scroll, look for everything. So I'm not on it a lot. I can't tell you how many videos I've seen of Jason Dominguez hitting this offseason. That is the wrong message. I need to see Jason Dominguez fielding. Like if the Yankees are if you're all in on being a better defensive team, a better technical fundamental team, and maybe this is going on every day, he needs to be taking
the Mookie Betts approach to
by the way,
go out there and
go
field
out
a
on
bunch
the
of
main
balls.
field at Steinbrenner Field. You know why? It's the same dimensions as Yankee Stadium. And he should be taking balls down the line. He should be taking balls off the wall. He should be taking balls in the gap. He has athletic skill, and he did not look like a good outfielder last year. I don't know what happened. The Yankees need to have done a deep dive on this, and they need to have stressed to him this offseason. And again, we'll learn this in the next few weeks. Was a significant part of your offseason a defensive thing and not just checking a box. See, that's what bothered me about them last year. Oh, we worked on this. Right. But there's a difference between working on pick and roll defense and working on pick and roll defense. As opposed to we worked on it, as opposed to we went after it freaking crazy in
Yeah.
practice. Like there were fights and stuff like that. We're practicing pick and roll defense. We are practicing like covering first base, and what the internal penalties are for not doing this with seriousness and passion on a day-to-day basis. On a day-to-day basis, the word I hear is Mookie Betts is training fanatically for shortstop. Fanatically. He is a Hall of Fame player already. He
Yeah.
does not need to be doing anything fanatically. And every time I ask about that with any Dodger person or anyone who knows Betts a little bit, they're like, he's at Dodger Stadium all the time. I heard when there were the wildfires, he went to Arizona and kept practicing, like at their facility in Arizona. So, like, it can't be something you say. It has to be something you live. And in that situation, I don't care if he plays left or center, because left field in Yankee Stadium is vital.
Yeah.
You know, I'll take you into a conversation I literally had yesterday with an executive. We were talking about Verdugo and why he doesn't have a job. And I said, Alex Verdugo has it in him to be a good baseball player. There are 5 tools in Alex Verdugo. If you get the right 2 weeks where you watch him cut a ball off down the left field line and hold something to a single, break up a double play with some good speed, get into a positive count and pull a ball, hit a ball over the shortstop's head, you can see it all in 2 weeks. The problem is there's another 2 weeks coming up, and he wasn't able to consistently do that. That takes a certain mental and physical endurance to do the right thing every day. I said the counter to that is I'm not sure that Brett Gardner was more talented than Alex Verdugo, but you got Brett Gardner full every day, and he was such a valuable left fielder. Like, he could really feel that, and he was valuable at the plate. He learned how to pull the ball and hit some homers. He had on-base percentage. He clearly could run, and more important, he was a metronome. If you were the manager, general manager, whatever, you got the same player every day. The Yankees need to have that. That has to be the goal with Dominguez.
Yeah.
He is a very talented guy. Is he going to be the Martian? That probably was not gettable. But he could be a 25-25 guy and play defense with a 750 OPS. Like, that's barely, may get you to an All-Star game or two, but that is so valuable.
It's better than what they've gotten the last how many years, Joel, in left field.
But it's got to be, to me, the 2025 Yankees, their captain's involved in this also, can't talk the talk. They have to walk the walk, that they're taking everything seriously every day, that good habits start next week at Steinbrenner Field and last to the last out of the season. The Yankees did not have it last year, and ultimately it probably cost them a championship, or at least a better chance at a championship. And so you just can't say, well, we got Bellinger and we got Goldschmidt, and that's a better technical thing. It's like, that's being on Jazz Chisholm all the time. That's being on Jason Dominguez all the time, right? About, like, how are we playing? It's about, like, when Volpe gets out of his swing, not waiting for a freaking month of 122. It's about, man, you're a veteran now. Your age doesn't say it, but this is your 3rd year. Come on. And, like, there's got to be standards here about how you're holding guys to standards. It was not good last year, and it's got to be part of their DNA as a team this year.
Well said, Joel. My last question for us on this episode, and this is a good one from Tommy. I got to give him credit for this. The concern Yankees fans they're not thinking about right now, but you think that could be addressed by the time we get to the trade deadline mid-season. What's something we are not talking about that could be a concern that you have noticed here with this Yankees roster currently?
Well, it's redundant. I think they need another catcher.
All right.
And again, like, if JC Esquera turns out to be everything they think he is, which is maybe even a starting catcher level guy as their co-catcher with Wells, great. But you are leaving yourself. They could survive third base. You can't survive like we have 2 horseshit catchers because Wells broke his thumb. You've got to play the what-if game.
Yeah.
You've got to play the what-if game. I think the Yankees, regardless, again, about what major parts of their fan base think, their management is good. Like, I can't believe there isn't part of the management that's saying, hey, and that's why let's see when the dust clears and they're playing the Brewers on opening day, how this back end of the roster has shaken out. Like Brian Cashman, if you've noticed, and I mean, there's now such a long track record. He's the longest guy at the job. Like he is a incrementalist, where he thinks he could improve by 2 or 3%, and it's within reason financially, or we could do it with the roster spot, or oh yeah, we trade this guy for this guy. Like he does that. I have to think there is a veteran catcher that we don't know about right now who's on this team, because I would have addressed. So with some of this money, I would have like begged Hal Steinberg and said, I will figure out how to trade Strowman. I want to sign Carson Kelly. I want to sign Kyle Higashioka. I want to sign somebody who, if the worst comes, that person can start for us for an extended period of time. And I think that is for what the Yankees are shooting for. If you told me the Yankees are looking to go 81-81, I go, do this. They're looking to get a parade. And I think that position really exposes them.
Makes
Really
sense, Joe.
And by the way, but when we do this show on March 15th, stuff will have happened and we'll say something completely different. But sitting here today, I know how crazy it is because we're talking about starting third baseman. But I think, you could play defensive guys like at third base who could hit ninth and have a 650 OPS and survive.
Yeah.
It's catcher.
It's
If
catcher.
something happens to Wells, they've traded, I think, 5 catchers who were on their 40-man roster since the Juan Soto trade. 5. Not lost them another way. Just traded them. 5. Might even be 6. And some of that is about technicalities like Lesha. I'm sure they'd love to have kept Ben Rodford. He was out of options. That's the game you're playing. Ben Rodford is Yandris Gomez. He's J.D. Brubaker. He's Oswald Peraza. He's in watch those. The out of option guys. They're in every camp. And you have to make a decision by, March 26th, 27th, whenever opening day is. You're going to have to make decisions on those people or try to get them through waivers. And I don't know about Gomez. I don't think Peraza gets through waivers. I think some bottom of the rung team goes ahead and says, yeah, we'll make him our utility infielder and see what it is, because what's the matter? We're winning 65 games anyway. Might as well see if we can get like free talent off the Yankee roster. So, that's a kind of thing to watch in spring training.
Yeah.
That's kind of not on the beaten path. It's a little off, but it's important.
Yeah,
it's part and it's all 30 teams.
Right. It's part of the roster gymnastics that a GM is in charge of and responsible for when they're assembling their team. Joel, this has been awesome. Like, this has been great. I appreciate you giving us your time, answering all these questions. We know there's going to be a lot more coming up with this team as we start next week with pitchers and catchers reporting, practices rolling out, players reporting, you guys talking to them in the locker room. And we're looking forward to seeing all your coverage throughout spring training. We're sure we're going to get a lot of chances to talk with you then. And yeah, man, we're here. We're back in it. 2025. We're about to get kicked off, man.
Yeah. Well, can I let him in on the dirty little secret that you're about to go to your first spring training?
Yes, you can. I'm gonna be down there. It'll be fun, man. We'll make some cool content down there too.
Maybe we'll even have a beer.
Yeah, I love that. Joel, you're the man. Thank you as always, and we'll talk to you soon. All right.
All right, and thanks to the fans for sending in questions. We do appreciate. They were good. They were the right questions. Good. We appreciate you so much supporting the show, watching the show. Keep asking questions. We'll do other shows built around questions of fans. Maybe another one, a mailbag like this before the season starts.
Sounds good, Joel. You're the man. Thank you as always.
All right. Be well, Ryan.